The Linux Action Show is created by Jupiter Broadcasting. It's sponsored by Ting. Go to last.ting.com to save off your first device or plan, and DigitalOcean. Go over to DigitalOcean.com and use our promo code LASTDigital, and then you can spin up your own Linux rig for free. Welcome to Linux Action Show episode 400. My name is Chris.
My name is Noah. We're at 400 already?
I know. It is absolutely unbelievable. So coming up on episode 400 of the Linux Action Show, Noah's given us a 400th birthday gift. There's one subject we've never talked about on the show because I'm a total noob, but it's something I actually feel like I could integrate with a lot of our shows, and it's asterisks. So Noah has put together a tutorial on asterisks, some information about it and all that kind of stuff. And so for episode 400, as a gift to me, Noah put all that together, and then in episode 401, the celebration continues, and we're going to do something that we've never done. Throwing out the format, completely going behind the scenes, and we're going to do some live planning on the show. Oh, you know what? I won't say too much. It's just scale related, and it's going to be super fun, and it's going to be sort of a celebration for episode 400. So coming up after all of that stuff, and really before all of that stuff, we got the picks and the news. Of course, there's big things going down in the news this week with a major OpenSSH flaw that you need to know about and that you need to patch about. We'll give you the details. You should probably know about that. Also, some updates and improvements coming to the GNOME 3 desktop. That could be pretty slick, as well as a big rumor around an Ubuntu tablet and a few other things in the news segment. Plus, big feedback segment with some great emails. But before all of that, Noah, do you know what we got?
The picks.
The picks. I love it. And we have a great Runs Linux to start this week because it came in right from the audience. And this has got to be one of the greatest usernames ever. It's Orbital Sphere, but spelled crazy. I don't even know about that, Noah. SFEIR. I don't even know. But check this out. His Jim Runs Linux says, I was working out this morning like a boss, and the IT guy was messing around with the exercise bike next to me. I noticed the CentOS boot screen, so I inquired further. Now, this is an awesome Linux Action Show listener right here. He says, I found out that all the equipment uses Linux. He says, our penguin buddy is trying to help us lose those holiday pounds. So look in, Noah, if we do a zoom and enhance here, as you like to do.
Yeah.
CentOS 6.
Enhance.
And then if you go in a little bit further, GNOME Desktop happening up in that business. Yep. That's awesome, right?
It's kind of crazy that they would load a GUI. I assume it's a controller software. I assume that they're not
No. In fact, I think the GNOME Desktop only lasts for a few seconds because once it's up and running, you get like this really crazy bike UI. So check this out. So not only does it recognize our listener here, his name is Luke apparently, it pulls up like his past workout routines with some stats. This all must be written in GTK, right? This must be like a big GTK app. And you can share your workout on Twitter from the exercise bike.
It's kind of interesting they would build that on CentOS. You've never heard me go on an episode and say anything bad or negative about CentOS. There's virtually no instance I wouldn't want to use CentOS, except maybe this. I don't think I'd be using a server distro as a utility distro for a treadmill. That doesn't seem... Something about that just doesn't ring right with me.
Dude, it's all about that update window. This is probably an old school shop. Sure they could. Yeah. Because their other option really be like an LTS of Ubuntu, something like that. So they're looking at this and they're thinking to themselves, Red Hat. Mm-hmm. This actually, no, I think it's pretty obvious, really. I think it's a pretty obvious one. I think what's interesting is that they, like you said, load a whole GNOME desktop. That could just be an X session. It doesn't need to be the whole GTK desktop.
Right.
Kind of wonder, put a web browser on there, maybe put VLC. You could watch the JB live stream. And then on Sundays, you could go work out and watch the Linux Action Show live right there. Now, of course, we're doing the show on a Friday because after we get done recording this week's episode of the Linux Action Show, I'm packing my bags and I'm heading down to California for Scale. So we're doing a Friday episode this week, but normally we're live on Sundays over at jblive.tv. And I was digging around on the website for that exercise bike. Mm-hmm. I'm not seeing any links to the GPL. Just saying. Just saying. Don't see any links to the GPL.
It's not a marketing thing on their website, right?
Yeah, I'm sure the bike, when you pull it out of the box, I'm sure it comes with a copy of the GPL in the box. I'm sure that must be a thing, right?
I don't know. Here's the thing. I think that the amount of people that would care if the GPL is included in the box are very few and far between, and I'm sure as heck not one of them. So.
I know. I'm just picturing a future Linux Action Show news story where the Software Conservancy is going after that exercise bike company for violating the GPL.
That's great. We can go back to Windows Embedded. Everyone loses. Everyone loses.
Oh, you know what? You know what's a way to win? Our sponsor, DigitalOcean. Man, I love DigitalOcean. I tell you what, their HTML5 console saved my bacon this week after I made a classic sysadmin mistake. Use our promo code LASTDigital and get a $10 credit over at DigitalOcean. Simple cloud hosting provider dedicated to offering the most intuitive and easy way for you to spin up a kick-ass Linux rig with SSDs, 40 gigabit E-connections, a terabyte of transfer, 20 gigabyte SSD for the $5 model with 512 megabytes of RAM. Yeah, I said $5 model. It's $5. That's ridiculous. And they've got data center locations in New York, San Francisco, Singapore, Amsterdam, London, Germany, and Toronto. They have a great interface to manage all of it. Like I mentioned, they have an HTML5 console, which totally saved my bacon when I destroyed my network interface after a reboot. That was good times. But you know what? That interface, man, is that a nice thing. No, how long have you been messing around with virtual machines, do you say? How many years have you...
A long time. Here's the thing. I said one of the most embarrassing moments of my career, one of the hands down definitely the most embarrassing moments of my career was I was at one of the first training sessions I'd ever been at. And this wasn't terribly recently. This was probably, I don't know, maybe it was a year after I graduated high school. And so it would have been 07-ish. And, or maybe a little later than that. And anyway, virtualization was clearly taking off. And I was sitting in this training session, and I'm sitting next to this guy, and we're talking about different things. And I made the comment. I said, God, it almost kills me to repeat this on air. I said, well, nobody serious uses virtualization. If you're going to do something serious, you're going to do it on bare metal. And he looks at me and he's like, would you consider 3M a serious company? And well, yeah. And he goes, okay, because all of our servers are virtualized. And I'm like, okay, so virtualization is a thing. And then, of course, now I look back on that and I'm like, literally the dumbest thing I've ever said. And ever since then, I pledged to virtualize all things.
You know, I have to tell you, I remember for me, it was when the bank I worked at, their entire disaster recovery solution was based around virtualization. And then I realized this is going big. And I remember how awful it was to manage those systems. They have such a good interface. And because their API is straightforward, there's tons of good open source code that already takes advantage of it. It makes it really great to manage. Check them out at DigitalOcean.com. Use the promo code LASTDigital. And spin yourself up a Linux rig. I got a few of them. I don't have as many as Noah because I don't think anybody in the world has as many as Noah. Well, actually, that's probably not true because there are some huge companies that use DigitalOcean for their backend infrastructure. But as far as like average users or small business people, I bet you're up there. So I've only got I've got like 4 or 5, and you've got like what?
Here's the thing. I know I'm over 25 because I had to request a limit. That's. That's what I know about. But here's the thing: they're not all mine, and many of those are being resold, and a lot of them are temporary ones too. We spin them up, especially even this week. I spun one up for a little bit to try and see if I could get it to run inside, get a couple things to run inside of DigitalOcean, and it's still live, even though I'm not actually.
Yeah, it's great. And then $5 a month plus you use the promo code LASTDigital, you get the $10 credit. Our app pick this week actually does work on DigitalOcean too. Game changer. Full credit goes to the subreddit. Did not find this on my own. Absolute game changer. And maybe you want to use it, so it may not be a game changer for all of us, but for those of us who use it, we're not going to have to write USB thumbsticks anymore. It's something we're going to put on all of our machines. It is awesome. And it's called NetBoot XYZ. And what it is an Internet Pixie-enabled boot environment that allows you to select just about every distro that you'd care about, automatically download the ISO, and start the installation. And they make it available in several delicious formats. You can write it as an ISO image to use as a virtual CD if you want, like in a VM, or to write it to a thumbstick. You can load it from Grub. You can load it over the network using a network booting and DHCP. So I want to show it to you here because it's truly remarkable. So in fact, what I'll do is I'll go through the entire process so that way you can kind of grok the whole thing. So I have boxes running under GNOME here, which is using KVM as the virtualizer. And here's my NetBoot machine. There's nothing installed on this. I just set this up before the show. I'm going to go ahead and boot it up. It's doing an iPixie installation, boot right now. It's making an HTTPS connection to their website. So it's going to their website. Now, all of their code is open under GPL. It's configuring my network interface. And now, it's by default going to allow me to boot from the hard drive. But you'll see there's also menu options for Linux installers, BSD installers, FreeDOS installers, and utilities. Let's start at utilities. This is pretty cool because maybe you just want to troubleshoot a machine. When you hit enter on utilities, it pulls down the latest versions of the utilities for Clonezilla, DBAN, Gparted, Hardware Detection Tool, Memtest, NetBoot, Partition Wizard, SuperGrub 2, and then you can escape, you can go back. Now let's say this installation's gone bad and you want to install Linux. Remember, nothing is on this machine. This is all blank. I have booted off of this ISO. And they're pulling this down from their website. I go to Linux installers. There's just about every version of Linux that matters right there.
Oh, no, you didn't just say that.
So then I go down here to Ubuntu. Look at this. All of the latest Ubuntu ISOs right there. I select this button.
That is something else.
I say Ubuntu install. It is now downloading the ISO image from the Ubuntu mirror, and it's about to start the installation. I don't have to write any ISO to the thumb drive. I just write this once to my thumb drive. I boot any machine off this. Or I add it to my grub menu. netboot.xyz. You can go to their website. Now, yes, it is. Here is how it works. Now, here's the Ubuntu installation. Here's how this works. It's doing an iPixie boot off of their site. So you are trusting them. It's pulling down the index from their website. All of their code is open. But then once you select the Linux ISO, it's just downloading that ISO from the standard mirror. So as long as you would trust the Ubuntu mirror, you're getting the Ubuntu ISO. So it's pretty neat. And if you do frequent installations, or in my case, I would just add this to a machine. When I need to reload it, I just have it on one thumb drive. I'm no longer going to have to flash each distro to that thumb drive. I just have this one thing flashed to it. Plug that in. Bob's your uncle. You're now booting the Ubuntu installer in seconds.
Have you ever set up a Pixie server before?
Not like by hand. I've set up some that are sort of like an out-of-the-box solution.
That has to be, if it's not at the bottom, it's near but it's right up there with. Trying to think of. I don't know if I can think of anything else I hate quite as much as setting up Pixie servers. I think that might be the worst. It is the most troublesome, pain in the butt thing you ever have to fight through. If you're setting it up from scratch and you're taking a box and setting it up to act as a Pixie server so people can dump images on, and it wouldn't be so bad if the reward was so much better. But the reality is, like 99% of the time, most businesses are booting, like a preloaded image to flash onto their machines that I could have just as easily done with a couple of USB sticks or whatever. Like now we'd use something like Clonezilla and just store the image on the network. But it's a huge pain. So the fact that they have made that painless, and like you said, you don't even have to update the images on the Pixie server. It'll go out to the internet. There are a few apps that I have seen in since my time as a host where I'm like, I'm going to go download that right this second, but it's already downloaded. That's how fast. That's how much.
Yeah.
Use
you know what my dream would be? I have a dream, Noah, and that dream would be that a slick distro comes along and just totally adopts this just for themselves and makes it like a restore environment. So on new, I don't know, I've never done it, but on new Macs, when you go into recovery mode, it downloads everything over the internet. It gets a DHCP address and it pulls everything over the internet. Like, why couldn't OpenSUSE or Antergos or Ubuntu Mate Edition have a boot menu option that would be like, go into recover environment, and it would download the ISO of a recovery environment and get you going. So that way you wouldn't have to worry about any disk stuff or anything like that. You could just make it in the boot menu and an internet connection, and it would be something that's like a specific custom version of this for that distro, so you could fully trust it top to bottom. But you know what? Even though it's not from a specific distro vendor, I still think this is something that'd be perfect on my Bonobo here, something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty cool. So it's called NetBoot, and you can go to netboot.xyz. It's netboot.xyz. Multiple operating system iPixie installer. And that is just a pretty damn cool find. So thanks to the Linux Action Show subreddit for that. And I also have a link in the show notes for getting it set up on a DigitalOcean droplet. All right. So this is in sort of spirit of you did a ticket tracking system last week as our spotlight. This week, coming from an audience member, it's Open Audit IT. Open Audit IT scans your network and tells you exactly what's on it, how it's configured, and this is a big one, and it used to be a huge one for my clients, when those things change. A new network comes online, a new device comes on the network, or a device goes off the network, or a configuration of a device changes, Open Audit IT can alert you. That is a big, big deal. Here's some screenshots of it, Noah. You can see it goes out, scans all the devices on the network. It apparently uses a lot of different common things like SNMP and other things to go get all of the information about the devices. It can do complete hardware assessments if it has the right authentication credentials and things like that. So this thing can do an automated network discovery, inventory, and alert on network changes. This would be great for something like the JB1 Studio or a large network. If you have a client out there, say for example, Noah, that wants to know when like some of their key devices leave or come on the network, or a major aspect about them changes, this could be perfect for that.
So what I'm hearing is I need to install this and continue to build them to figure all that stuff out, but yet cut down my labor hours by like a third.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Can you manually enter this stuff in so that you can use it as like like a repository for store? Okay.
And also, this is what's nice about it is you could also use this to basically automatically generate a hardware inventory because it's aware of all the devices. And here's an example of a Cisco router. It goes out and gets all of the network interfaces, how they're configured, their speeds, if they're enabled or not, what their labels are, all of their IP addresses, the subnets that they're on. It goes out and it does a complete inventory of all of the hardware because it gets you the exact model. It's a Cisco 1841. It gives you the last time it was seen on the network. It's SNMP OID. You can classify all these devices into a group. I mean, this is a really slick system, either for just like a few devices on your network or for a huge network. I think it's pretty cool.
Switching around and showing CDP neighbors, right?
Yeah. And that works too. At the end of the day, it gets the job done. Speaking of getting the job done, we've asked for your help to getting down to scale, which is just around the corner. We've got 2 days left. We've sold 83 shirts at the U.S. site at teespring.com/last400 if you want to get yourself a nice shirt. You can also get a hoodie. We got the ladies fitted tee as well, which is really nice. And we got the regular t-shirt. Teespring.com/last400. We've sold 83. We're hoping to get to 100. We're so damn close. If you'd like to get us there, it is super tight. There's 2 days, 4 hours, 35 minutes, and 48 seconds left. Teespring.com/last400. Help us get down to scale. And it's going to be a hell of an event. We're going to tell you all about that and way more than you ever wanted to know in next week's episode. So stay tuned for 401. We got way more coming up in episode 400 because it's a big show. And with the picks all done, Noah, let's do the news.
Hey, it's the news, and this episode's brought to you by
Ting.com. Go to last.ting.com, won't you, friends? Go to last.ting.com right now to save $25 off your first device to support this show, and even better, to get $25 in service credits if you have a GSM or CDMA-compatible device, and you just might. Ting is mobile that makes sense. They just take your minutes, your messages, your megabytes, and add them up, and that's what you pay. Just whatever you use, that's what you pay. No contract, no early termination fee. It's really simple. No gimmicks. Just straightforward pricing, super great dashboard, crazy awesome customer service, pay for what you use service. Oh, and all the devices are unlocked. That's pretty cool too. Go over to last.ting.com to check them out. They got a savings calculator over there. You can see how much money you would save. And what's really nice about Ting is if you're just a little savvy, you can really save. You can really save. And the other thing about Ting, you know what they got, Noah? You know what Ting's got?
I'll tell you what they have. They have tiny little, what is this? Who's this made by? Made by Kerosene. A tiny little Kerosene phone that lasts like 3 weeks. Let's see here.
Yep.
You probably won't be able to see the battery, but if you could see the battery, you'd see that it's totally full. And the last time it was plugged in was Sunday night.
Yeah, that's a rad one. The other one they've got now is they've now got the Ansitel One Touch Fling. $63. If you don't want a super crazy smartphone, you just want to make calls or something where the battery lasts all day, where the feature phone, it's a simple phone, but the battery life is literally counted in days, not hours. It's got 64 gigabytes of storage. If you use a micro SD, it's got Bluetooth, so if you want to use Bluetooth in your car. And check out the specs on this bad boy, okay? 2.4-inch screen, woo! 240 by 320 resolution. And for processors, look at that. Totally has one of those. Look at they actually put that on there. That is really good. You know what's amazing too? 850 milliamp battery, and yet this thing's got days of battery life. And so obviously, Ting also has all of the great devices. They've got all the Cadillacs out there. They got they got a great deal right now on the Moto E and Gs, like the latest gens. Those are a crazy score. If you want like a competent Android device, they've also got the SIM cards. Those are really straightforward. The other thing that Ting's got, they got Pix. Kyra likes to bust out pics from time to time over at theting.com. If you go to last.ting.com, that'll land you on the Ting website. You go learn about them. You support the show. It's like, hey, Ting, thanks for keeping a great Linux podcast on the air. We really appreciate it. That's what you say when you go to last.ting.com. But you know what I say? I say, Kyra, what app pics do you have for us? Take it, girl.
Stay secure with one single password. I'm Kyra, and this is the Ting Download. We all know our passwords are supposed to contain a capital letter and special character while using a gibberish phrase. But how are we supposed to keep track of all these meaningless phrases? Using LastPass, that's how. Open a login screen in an app or Chrome browser. When LastPass pops up, you'll see your matching logins on file, which gives you access right away. If you've yet to save one, tap Add Login to be brought into the password vault. Here you'll enter your username and password, which is saved and secured in the LastPass cloud. You can also categorize the type of site and add specific notes if you so desire. If you're adding information for a smartphone app, ignore the verified site URL alert. LastPass will work just fine. If you're registering for a new account, get LastPass to randomly generate a complex password for you. You'll never have to actually remember it, and your information will be kept safer than ever. You can store other web form information inside the app too, like credit cards, your passport, Wi-Fi passwords, and much more. You can even securely share passwords with family and friends using a shared folder, which auto-syncs with everyone who's been given access. For $12 a year, you can sync the LastPass app with your desktop account, get two-factor authentication, priority support, and more. The free version of LastPass will likely do just fine though. You can pick it up for Android or iOS. Links are in the description below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
All right, last.ting.com. Go check them out. You guys know about LastPass, and I got to be honest. I think I'm switching back to LastPass.
Yeah.
For a little bit. But my custom brewed password solution, it's too much to manage for me right now. Life is too busy. So, and the thing is,
that's
like,
kind of what I thought when you first said it. I'm like, that seems like that's a system you have there.
damn it, I know, Noah. I so desperately wanted to roll my own. However, I got a couple other solutions in mind already. And so I'm going to try them out, and I'm just going to, whichever one I get excited about, that's the one I'm going to go for. So I think, because it's not like a huge rollback to go to LastPass, I just have to update a few passwords. So I think
See, I wiped mine out. I took everything out of LastPass. I don't have a single password saved in there.
I should have done that, but yeah. Kyra.
I'm pretty good at forcing myself to do one thing or the other.
Yeah. I bit off more than I could chew. You know what else I bit off more than I could chew? Apparently, I bit off more than I can chew when I installed Open freaking SSH. I don't know if you've ever heard of this Open SSH thing, Noah. This might be new to you.
I've used it from time to time. Like,
yeah.
I may have been logged in. I may have been using that particular tool about 30 seconds before we got on the air.
Sure. Yeah, I may use it every single day. Most of us do. It's an awesome piece of open source software, and it has a major bug. Now, this is really on the client side. It's a bug that can leak your keys. And it's been fixed in most supported distros, so you need to go get your update. The vulnerability resides in the version end users use to connect to servers and not in versions used by servers. So it is a client-only bug. A maliciously configured server could exploit to obtain the contents of the connecting computer's memory, including the private encryption keys used for SSH connections. The bug is a result of code that enables an experimental roaming feature in OpenSSH in versions 5.4 to 7.1. And as Alan breaks it down with much more detail in TechSnap, this was essentially to sort of add the functionality that things like Mosh add, where you can have like a laptop that's on a Wi-Fi connection that maybe comes and goes, or on a mobile connection, and you want to be able to resume your connection, hence the roaming feature of it. Now, here's the problem, though, Noah. Mm-hmm. It's turned on by default on the OpenSSH client. So if the server has been compromised, this is something that's almost a shoo-in that the client's going to have as a vulnerability. So that's why this actually gets a little complicated. Because the matching server code has never been shipped, the client code was enabled by default, and the code could be tricked by a malicious server into leaking client memory to the server, including private client user keys. The authentication of the server host key prevents exploitation by a man in the middle, because you actually have to authenticate to the server. But it does mean that once you own the server, you could use that to sort of keep ongoing ownership, because you could get credentials of all the SSH sessions that log in. Such exploits would be useful on already compromised targeted servers that wanted to ensure continued access after initial entry. So it's enough that we all need to update, because it's not a really big vulnerability as long as you're not connecting to random SSH servers, but there is the possibility, like on a new installation, if somebody's compromised a server and you're connecting for the first time, or you're connecting to a server you've never connected before that's been compromised, there is a potential for risk there.
Or if you're a contractor and you are required to give your public SSH key to other companies, and then they put them in servers that you have no management of and have never seen before and likely will never see again, and you're going to do one task, that would be a prime opportunity for somebody to pull something like this. I have to take a moment. I know that some of you, I'm going to get hate mail for this, but I got to take a moment and plug YubiKey, because I'd have to read into this a little bit, but I don't think that I am going to be susceptible to this, because my YubiKey never actually gives up the private key. And so I assume that this only applies if you're using key-based authentication.
Well, here is the problem with this, is once you've authenticated in any method, the server can read the memory of your machine. So if you have any kind of passwords of any sort or anything else, I mean, it's your memory in general, right? Sure. It's sort of like, think back to Heartbleed, where Heartbleed, the problem was you could...
the other way around, but
yeah, exactly, yes, the other way around, but you could read memory. So go update your SSH. You know what? If you think about it, we don't have a lot of times where we're like, oh my gosh, update SSH. I don't know if you noticed, but System76 was putting out notifications on all of their social media sites saying, hey, this is a client-side problem. You need to update. So we're getting the word out there pretty well, but it's not very often we come on the air and say, holy crap, go update OpenSSH right away. But the problem is we pretty much have a monoculture here. There's not really a lot of open source SSH servers that we're all using. Not until Systemd SSH, at least. But let's move on. So one of the things we've heard about on the show here is, hey, tell us what's going on with some of our favorite projects. Watch the development of these projects and tell us what's coming before it actually hits our desktops. So we're going to do that. The GNOME project is working on some major revamps of their system settings. Now remember, everything here is in progress, ideas, nothing is set in stone yet, but it's new. Noah, tell me what you think of the new GNOME system settings UI.
That looks terrific. I love it. It takes me right back to 1981 on my
For those of you on the audio, I'm trolling Noah. Now here it is. It's right here. They're switching GNOME settings. They're going to completely revamp it. They're going to go with a sidebar type setup where you have all the stuff listed on the side, and then the UI in the middle focuses on actually adjusting the settings. Of course, icon grids, they say, are established approach for system settings. They aren't the only solution. We have encountered limitations with them. So it's a whole new way to lay out the menu system in GNOME. And I think it actually looks really nice. It's really clean. They've got some new UI ideas for it. But at the same time, I look at this and I go, what's old is new again. It does remind me a lot of the Mac OS System 6 control panel, where you had the icon, you had all the items on the left as icons, and then you click on it and the settings were in the middle UI. So what's kind of funny is they kind of talk about how they're branching beyond the grid of icons for system settings, which, if you go into GNOME settings right now, it's a grid of icons, right? So here I'm pulling them here. This is the current GNOME system setting, and then I like
what's better, mind you.
Huh? You do?
Yes, very much so. I don't want a list of stuff. Here's the thing. Inherently we are visual people.
Oh man, so you are so wrong. God, you are so wrong.
I am absolutely not wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things, but I'm not wrong about this. When you go into a control panel and you see a little picture of the mouse, instinctively you can find the picture of the mouse and click on that a heck of a lot faster than you can grep through in your mind through a list till you find the thing that says mouse.
Okay, all right, Hotshot. Then on this screen right here, tell me where do I go? Which thing do I click on to change my DPI setting?
Display. Where's the picture of a monitor?
Where? Yeah, exactly. Where's the picture of the monitor? Yeah. You have to search. The only way this screen works, and I'm telling you, the only way this screen works is by muscle memory. By using it year after year, you learn where the placement of these things are. I agree. We are visual people. I like to look at things. I admit to that. However, when I look at this, even having used the GNOME desktop for how long now, I still have to every now and then go, pop. And I have to look for it. I have to hunt and peck like an animal. Whereas this new UI is a total nice sweet list on the side. I conclude, you know what? I can, because here's the thing, Noah. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. I'm trying not to say that. All right. This is the truth. This is the fundamental fact about the case of the matter. I can read really fast, and so I can see that stuff listed right there. Damn it, the chat room's taking care of it. It's taking track. That's my first one. That's my first and only here's the thing of the episode. That one didn't count because I'm just disclaiming.
Yeah,
so I
derailed the whole show by trying to stop it.
I am committed to putting an end to here's the thing. And that does not count. That does not count.
Imagine this. Let me ask you something. Would
Okay.
you prefer it if the bar on the side of your on your launcher, instead of having the Firefox icon and the Thunderbird icon, the Files icon, if it just said Firefox Thunderbird Files?
That's a dumb question, though.
No, it's not, because it's the same thing. It's
No,
you
it is
like-
absolutely not the same thing. It is absolutely, dude.
How so?
Dude, think about it. Your launcher is static, man. You look at that thing. I mean, it's like if my Bonobo could have screen burn-in, that sucker would be so burned into the side of my screen. It is ridiculous, right?
Yeah, so the
I
control
look at that thing all day long, every single day, man. I could click those icons in my sleep with the screen off, right? However, the system
By
settings,
muscle memory, though, only, right?
but the system settings, I go in there like, once a month. I just don't have that same familiarity. I don't have that same familiarity, and I think
So pictures only work when you can remember them?
yes.
I don't know. I listen. I think we're just on polar opposites of this. I think that anyone that's looked at human behavior would tell you that we gravitate towards pictures much faster than we gravitate towards text, and we can interpret.
Really?
pictures
All right.
like-
Here is Exhibit A, one
Okay.
of the world's most popular operating systems, iOS. Same exact settings layout.
Okay, but
Look at that.
actually, really, that's kind of a hybrid because they have both. They have a picture and they have the text, right?
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. That's probably the better way to go. And in fact, that's why if you look at this old Mac OS shot, they have a hybrid here too, right? Like that was my point. Like this
were
is
light years
something.
ahead, yeah.
This is something. Well, no, it's just something we've done before. It's something. It's something the
yeah.
UI paradigm has done before, and this is. Yeah, this was a shipping thing. Yeah, now my point is, I actually think the GNOME project is making some serious progress. I think 2016. And it's going to be an obvious choice. I think by the end, it's just, I'm really excited about the direction they're going with GNOME right now. Here's something else crazy exciting. This could be huge for me specifically because hold on a second.
He forgot to load
I think right here. Yeah, I got one right here. So check this out. We have right here in studio the Steam Link. What's the matter, Noah?
Last week you had Pop Pie. This time you have Steam Link.
I got the Steam Link right here. Yeah, here
I
it
don't have
is.
the Steam Link.
I know. Well, so I pre-ordered the Steam Link, and I'm very excited about the news this week because Valve has released a Steam Link SDK. The Steam Link hardware has a core, single core ARM7. It's got running at 1 gigahertz. It's not super. It's got 256 megabytes of RAM, 50 megabytes of usable flash storage. So with the SDK out now, guess what? It runs Linux. In fact, I got all the deets right here. And when they did some posting. It's running kernel 3.8, glibc 2.19. And OpenGL ES2.0 supported. And so they've put out the SDK for this thing. And I think this could turn out to be the sleeper device. This could be the freaking sleeper device. If you could run Kodi or Plex or Netflix and stream all of your Steam games from your PC to your living room, why would I buy a Roku?
Yeah.
This-
And that thing has way more longevity in it than a Roku does.
Because the SDK is open source, this also solves your problem about not relying on an external service.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And here's the other thing too: is I can convince my wife to let me put that in the living room. I cannot convince my wife to put the other 98% of devices that I would want to put in the living room. Plus, I can play games. I can play Race of Sun.
Oh man, you know what? Little Noah would love that.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would. Neither one of us would get anything done.
Hold on, I'm trying to open the rest of this thing. I want to know if it comes with a remote or what. I don't know. Oh, there's like another box inside the box here, Noah. It's like Crazy Town. Let's see. What's it's taped. Of course it's taped. Of course it's
I have
taped.
a sign in the shop. It says that you have to be 10% smarter than the device that you're.
Really, dude? That joke is so old. Come on now. All right, here we go.
There we go. Okay.
Does it come with a remote? Oh well, it comes with your power adapters for the different.
That's needed.
Yeah.
Good. Different countries.
No. Wait. No. It looks like it does come with an HDMI cord though. That's nice.
Really?
Yeah, it comes with a power brick, and it comes with Ethernet too. It's got Ethernet in here.
Oh, Oh, look at that. How fancy is that?
So the Steam Link is getting a pretty big upgrade with an open source
For
SDK.
$50, they give you the HDMI cable and the. That's a really good deal.
Yeah. Not to mention the fact that now it's going to have open source applications developed for it. It's also got a USB port on the front of it, Noah, so you could probably use that to like hook up a USB external storage and play local files. It's got two USB ports on the back too.
Is it useful for anything if you don't have a Steam box in the house?
Well, it will be now. I mean, it will be now. But to stream games to this, you don't have to have a dedicated Steam box. You just have to have Steam installed on a PC, and then you can stream games to it.
Right. But you have to have a box somewhere else in the house that's running Steam for that to be useful. At least at this.
Right now, yeah, you do. But if this thing could do Plex or Kodi, then that's so cool. That is so cool. I'm really excited by Valve. Oh. And here is the other thing that's crazy cool about it. I can't believe I almost forgot to mention this part.
Magic?
I was digging through the forums, and Shark on the Valve forums pointed out that by just running Make, he could compile 2 out of the 4 example apps that they've made for the Link on his Linux desktop. He says, sneaky, Valve is tricking people into building an application which can be piled for anything which runs Linux.
That's awesome.
So
Valve
these
tricking people to run Linux.
Yeah, I mean that's also a really cool thing is because it's Linux underneath the Link. As people are making these apps, it could just run on desktop Linux too, which might mean like a Plex Media Center or a Netflix app eventually one day. Who knows? Speaking of things down the road, Ubuntu's got a device to show us. We don't know all the details yet, but it may be announced next month. Do you know what next month is, Noah? Do you know what's coming up next?
After January follows February, as the song tells me.
Well, yes, that's true. Yes, and that means Mobile World Congress.
Right, yes, that was going to be my next guess.
Now, this is coming from OMG Ubuntu. They say details that we've seen suggest the company is to use the 4-day expo to showcase the progress it has made on creating a software environment that transforms mobile to desktop PCs when a monitor, mouse, or keyboard is attached. Among hardware Canonical is showing is a tailored convergence device. It's a 10-inch tablet with a 64-bit ARM processor and made by BQ. Yeah. And Mobile World Congress, by the way, takes place February 22nd through the 25th in Barcelona.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. This sounds, on paper anyway, like my dream device, right? This is what I've been asking for, is a small portable tablet-like device that I can carry in my pocket, but actually has a full-fledged Linux desktop on it. And if I had a way that I could just drop said device into a dock on my desktop and a dock at home and a dock when I'm in a plane and have a little... That all sounds great on paper. I just have a feeling if it's going to be like the last 50 times I've gotten excited about a mobile device that was coming out, I'm going to be disappointed when I put my hands on it in person.
Yeah, maybe. Now, I for some reason, I'm smelling a little excitement on this one. Like maybe they got some prizes to pull out of their hat. I'm not sure, Noah. You know what I mean? I'm sniffing.
Listen, I hope so, because I really would commit to a device like this. And the longer I go and have to make sacrifices in other areas and become painfully aware of how I'm making sacrifices in other areas, the more willing I am to compromise on a device. So a couple months ago, I would have told you it had to be x86. I don't even care about that anymore. Fine, I'll live with ARM. Fine, I won't be able to run some of the applications. Oh, okay.
Well, here's some more details. Tell me what you think about this. Whatever shape or form factor it is, they're led to believe, OMG is, Ubuntu, that it's going to run a Ubuntu Touch that integrates support for convergence, Pocket Desktop features, and snappy Ubuntu personal framework with a standard Ubuntu Touch experience is the verbiage we're going to hear. It's going to have Debian packages with X11-based software that runs in the Ubuntu personal environment, which is sandboxed for safety using 2 new technologies. LibreTine provides a snap package that lets users create and maintain isolated sandboxes that can contain and run Deb-packaged X11-based legacy application software. And Puritan, a bespoke LibreTine container that adds basic convergence functionality to LibreTine apps, and accompanying Puritan scope will surface launchers for legacy apps in the Unity 8 UI. Hardware specs we don't really know much about. It's got some. We do have some details based on which one they may or may not select. We don't know for sure this is one they'd be using. But if OMG Ubuntu is speculating, it's the BQ M10, a 10-inch tablet, 64-bit MediaTek processor, quad-core at 1.3 gigahertz. Also, it's got a MediaTek GPU, 2 gigabytes of RAM, 16 gigabytes of eMMC flash storage. Right now, it's available for sale running Android. OMG Ubuntu contacted Canonical, who declined to comment, but they say that they will be at Mobile World Congress 2016 to, quote, showcase the next stage of Ubuntu Phone Live, adding that attendees can expect several pretty exciting announcements across the both Internet of Things and devices. That was Canonical's official statement. Maybe by the end of February, we may be seeing a whole new type of device coming out of Canonical.
I'm 100% in support of it. I'm 90% skeptical of it.
Here is my thought. I would much rather own an Ubuntu Touch tablet than an Ubuntu Touch phone. And I think if they had a compelling tablet that could do some of the basic things, like run a decent web browser, really, I would actually be pretty tempted to pick one up, to be honest with you. I think I would.
Let's qualify that a little bit. Are you, if I'm reading, because my inclination is to agree with you, but I agree with you because I will always have my phone with me, and so I won't miss the lack of functionality if there aren't, tier 1 apps available on the tablet.
Right.
That's okay.
Right. I got my phone. I'm probably not going to replace my phone. It turns out the guys that are making all the big phones now, they've really got this down. They're making pretty great phones. Tablets, however, still a bit of a crap show, and I have a way different set of expectations. In fact, I'd like to get some more work done with my tablet than I can currently get done, and I think a Linux-based tablet would be the ideal scenario for me. And if they could sell me something that includes a docking station or some easy-to-use, if they can also, at the same time they announce this, not just announce the tablet with some stupid USB charger, but also announce a tablet that has a way for me to actually converge the frickin' thing.
Yeah.
If I, man... Then if they can ship it out of the box, you plug it into this thing with a monitor attached to it and it converges, that's a big deal. And then I'm buying one, I think.
The studio, and you're upstairs in your office and you have it in the dock up there and you have it attached to 2 monitors or something like that.
Like a boost.
And you're setting everything up, you're getting everything working like a boost. And then you take it downstairs and go into the studio, plug it in, you got HDMI, everything goes out. But now you're going to scale, so you throw it in JB Rover 2.
Totes.
And you're driving down the road, but you need it in tablet form because space is confined. I mean, that's what we've been waiting for. And here's the thing: even if you don't have people that organically are interested in Linux, I could talk a lot of business guys into, hey, you know what? You don't need to carry your phone and your laptop and your tablet. I'll give you one device that'll do all 3. And you'll be able to give your presentation right from this little device, and you'll be able to send your emails right from this little device, and you can play Monopoly on the plane like I watched you in your suit from this little device. You can do all of that stuff from one thing. I guarantee you they could care less what the operating system is. As long as it gets the job done, they'd make sacrifices just to be able to only carry one thing.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I'm hopeful. This is a lot of rumor stuff. That's why that's why it's the last story on the news docket. It's a lot of rumor stuff, but it's pretty exciting. And if you think about it, I think we've been hearing about this from Canonical since 2012. I'm ready to see something. I'm ready to see something big. And I think tablets are the way to go all along. With the first time I ever tried it on my Nexus 5, my first thought was, this would be great on a tablet. So,
really? My first thought was, where's my charger?
Yeah, that was my second thought. Yeah, good call. All right, Noah, that's all the news for this week. To celebrate episode 400, we're going to do something that we don't talk about very much on the show. Now, you may have heard us mention it in the past. Asterisk is an awesome PBX software, completely open source, that runs on top of Linux. If you're a home user with just a few phones, or you're a small business or even a large business, this is an awesome piece of software. And as a broadcaster, I've always wanted to use it to take live calls. So as a special treat for episode 400, Noah put together a tutorial on it that's really straightforward. And then after that, we're going to take calls using the new Linux-based PBX system. Before we get into that, I got to thank our segment sponsor, and that's the great folks over at Linux Academy. Go to linuxacademy.com/unplugged and take advantage of that incredible discount. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Linux Academy is a platform to learn more about all of the technologies based around Linux. Really, true, genuine, open source enthusiasts that are smarter than both Noah and I. Way smarter. Because, see, if Noah and I were on our game, this is what we would have done. We would have done Linux Academy because they came up with a way to do Linux content and make some money at it and really invest to be able to pay people to generate great content. That way you can have self-paced courses that whenever you get stuck, instructor help is available. You have 7+ Linux distributions you get to choose from, and the courseware automatically adjusts to match that. And not only the courseware, the virtual machines that you get to SSH in also. 2,092 videos where you can get experience as you need to learn and practice. Scenario-based labs. You'll work in their advanced lab environments, complete the scenarios from beginning to end, and have real confidence of having worked on this stuff in the real world. The full AWS suite, and if you're like Noah and you're chasing that Red Hat certification, yeah, that is a race. Guess what? Linux Academy has all of that as well. Anything really around there, including Android development, Python, Ruby, all of that stuff, PHP, and I can't overestimate how important the instructor help is. When you get stuck, they're there for you. And if you have tight time, like we are this week, check out their nuggets. 2 to 60 minutes of just a deep dive into a crazy great topic on Linux. Bootstrapping nodes with Chef, SSH HTTP secure proxies, managing Linux storage with iSCSI. They have a lot. I mean, they have look at this list. Woo, look at that list. Woo, look at that list. Holy smokes. That is great. linuxacademy.com/nuggets if you want to see that. This is a really great service. Graded server exercises, all the technology stacks you want to learn about, people that truly care about open source and Linux, in-depth resources, a community stacked full of Jupiter Broadcasting members, and a really good virtual live. I think yesterday was the... you know what? I haven't logged in since yesterday. I think they had a big announcement on the 14th. I'll have to check into that after the show. You can too if you're already a Linux Academy subscriber, and if you're not, linuxacademy.com/unplugged. You should be. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. And a big thank you to Linux Academy for sponsoring Linux Action Show. It's great to have you guys here. This is a service that's a great match for our listeners. Thanks, Linux Academy. So Asterisk is something that everybody's probably heard about. It's probably not something they've really wanted to dive into unless they've had a specific need, but you've probably been a little curious like I have. Well, I was looking up here on the Wikipedias. Asterisk was created in 1999. And one of my first experiences with Asterisk was in a call center where they were selling crap shovelware for Windows, and then of course it constantly broke, and they would have a bunch of people calling in. And so in Paulsville, Washington, they built out a call service center, and they used Asterisk to manage the call center. They ran it all on Linux rigs. It was a pretty cool setup. And so my first experience with Asterisk was, wow, this is really a way for a company to roll their own support solution and, manage calls and drag, calls to different desks. They had a whole custom interface for it. It was a pretty epic setup, and I was really impressed. So I've always been Asterisk curious since then, Noah. Is there anything that we need to know before we jump into your clip here?
No, just a couple of ground things that I didn't really bother explaining in the video because the video concentrates on the on the meat of actually doing it. But basically, traditionally you have a phone line, a POTS, a plain old telephone system. So you have a copper wire that comes into your building, and for each additional phone line, you need a separate copper line, and then you need a phone system that can handle all of those lines. And so if somebody's on line 1, you can't make a call on line 1. You have to pick up line 2. And if somebody's on line 1 and 2, you have to pick up line 3. And basically the way that internet-based phones work is that it throws all of that out the window. The way that SIP works, that none of that applies anymore. So with a single SIP trunk, which is basically how you talk to the outside world, I can make 1,000 simultaneous calls outside, and I can take 1,000 simultaneous calls coming in, and I just pay per minute at a very inexpensive rate, depending on what trunk provider you go with, 0.00001 cent per minute or something like that. You pay for that trunk, and that took me a little bit to get my head wrapped around because I was so used to paying for those individual lines. And you can do that. They'll sell you what they call a SIP channel, which means you pay $29 a month, and then you have a dedicated channel.
That's what I've seen, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really backwards way to go. And so I fought it for a little bit, and I kept saying, well, what's the device I need to actually plug my phone lines into the SIP system?
Right.
And then, frankly, you do some research online, and it begins to get a little daunting. It's like I never really wanted to dive into it because I was afraid that I was going to have to figure out all these configuration files and do all this stuff. And really, from start to finish, you'll have a working system in 10 minutes. I guarantee it.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it lets you build something seriously powerful using open source technology. Let's take a look.
Hands down, one of the most pivotal things that changed for me in 2015 was switching to FreePBX, or Asterisk Now. Now, I've tried them all. I've tried Elastix, I've tried FreePBX, and I've tried Asterisk Now, and a couple of others that I've completely forgotten at this point. Asterisk Now has been the most reliable, easy to configure, and straightforward distro for using FreePBX. And that's what I actually recommend that you go ahead and use. Now, we're going to go through step by step exactly what it takes to install Asterisk Now, how to configure it, how to get it to talk to an outside line, and how to make it do some of the fun and fancy things that you would want to do with a PBX. So button up, it's going to be a fun ride. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put our Asterisk Now CD into the CD drive, DVD rather. I have not had a whole lot of luck burning that ISO to a USB drive, so I'm actually going to use optical media. And I'm going to go ahead and tell the computer to go ahead and boot off the CD DVD drive. And much like installing any Linux distro, I'm prompted with a boot menu of what I want to install. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the stable Asterisk install. Okay, so here we're getting prompted with how we want to configure the IP. I'm going to go ahead and choose manual configuration. And I'm not going to choose to configure IPv6 right now, at least not manually. So I'm going to enter in my IP address that I want to use. I'm going to put in my subnet mask, and I'm going to enter in my gateway, and I'm going to set up my DNS servers. And it's going to ask me what my time zone is. And of course, we'll have to enter in a root password. Okay, and our installation is wrapping up. Alright, we've just configured our firewall to forward all UDP ports 10,000 to 20,000 to the local LAN IP of our PBX. So let's see if we can log in to our PBX. Alright, we're able to log in. The PBX is clearly up and running. However, it's completely useless because we have no way to make or receive calls. All calls start and end with the use of extensions. So under the application menu, we're going to go down to extensions, and we're going to choose generic SIP device. And the first one we're going to create is 701, and we're going to call this NOAA. And we're going to set my password to 1234. And we are going to enable voicemail for me. We're going to set my voicemail pin to 1234. And that will be my extension. And we're going to go ahead and create a second one for Chris. And we're going to make his password 1234. And we're going to enable voicemail for him. And now he has an extension. Now that alone, once we hit apply config, and you have to hit apply config every time you're done changing something, that alone will enable us to make and receive calls between each other. So if I open up my soft phone and I go through the wizard, we're going to register an existing account. We're going to be using SIP, JBPBX, hostname, last.altispeed.com. I'm going to use my extension And now, you'll notice that under accounts, I have a registered account. So I can make and receive calls with other extensions. I won't be able to dial out. We can demonstrate that. And it's going to fail. But I can call other extensions. To make this a little bit more useful, let's configure the PBX so that I can make outgoing calls to the outside world. To do that, we need to use something called a SIP trunk. And essentially what a SIP trunk is it is the connection to the outside world. So we do that under Connectivity and Trunks. And we can create a new SIP trunk. And we're going to call this Outbound Trunk. And the caller ID will be 1-866-280-1433. And I am going to do the rest of this off camera because if I entered in these details on camera, you would actually be able to use my account. Alright, so we have an outgoing trunk, but we have to tell FreePBX when to use that particular trunk, and we do that with an outgoing route. So we'll call this route Outbound because I'm feeling creative. And we're going to use this pattern wizard to generate patterns for 7-digit numbers, 10-digit numbers, toll-free numbers. To avoid confusion between extension numbers, internal feature codes, and outside dialing, we're going to require the user to dial a 9 before he or she gets an outside line. And when a pattern is matched, we want it to use the outgoing trunk that we configured earlier and submit changes. And you'll notice now if I go over to my soft phone,
Thank you for calling Altispeed,
and we're able to get an
providing
outgoing
creative
line.
solutions in an evolving world of technology.
Alright, we can call each other extension to extension and we can make outgoing calls to the outside world. But what about incoming calls? Well, we do that with what we call an inbound route, and that's again under the connectivity menu. We're going to create a new incoming route and we're going to call it income, because again, I'm feeling creative. The DID to match, or the direct inbound dialing to match, is 1-866-280-1433. So any calls that come in to this number are going to meet this incoming route. And what are we going to do with them? Well, the easiest place to send them is a ring group. And essentially what a ring group is a collection of phones that ring anytime the number's dialed. So this is going to be a ring group 600, and we're going to call it all phones. And the extensions are going to be 701 and 702. So if anyone calls our incoming line, it's going to ring simultaneously extension 701 and 702. If nothing else happens, if those two extensions don't pick them up, we are going to send them to my voicemail. And we'll hit save. And now we have an incoming route. We can bring calls into the PBX, but what happens if somebody's not available to take those calls? Well, we can actually send those to a cell phone. Even if it's not a smart cell phone, and even if you don't have the ability, for whatever reason, maybe you don't have a decent data connection, so you don't want to do all of your calls through SIP. You want it to come through the POTS, or the plain old telephone system. Well, we can do that, and FreePBX allows you to do that using the Follow Me settings. So if I choose the Follow Me settings, I can actually undisable it, and I can choose a number to send this stuff to. So I can set it to 701-555-6451, and the pound sign says that it needs to dial an outside line. And now anytime my extension is dialed, or anytime a ring group that my extension exists in is dialed, it's going to simultaneously ring all of these extensions, including an outside telephone number. Another popular incoming destination is, of course, the IVR. That's kind of like the center point of PBX systems. So we're going to go ahead and create an example IVR, and because I'm again feeling so creative, we're going to name it Example IVR, and it's an example of an IVR. If we had an announcement uploaded, this is where we could choose it. If they have an invalid destination, we're just going to kill their call. If the timeout, we're just going to kill their call. But then we can start choosing or defining the IVR. So if the user presses 1, we're going to send them to my extension. If the user presses 2, we're going to send them to Chris's extension. If the user presses 3, we'll terminate their call. If the user presses 4, we will send them to my voicemail. Now we can go back to the incoming route, and instead of the apparently we didn't save the incoming route. Income line 1-866-280-1433. And basically what we're going to do is now, instead of sending it to a call group, we're going to instead send it to the IVR. And we're going to send it to the example IVR. So when calls come in on our main line, we're going to send them to our IVR. And we could actually go back into our IVR and say that if the user presses 5, we might send them to our call group. So we'll send it to ring all phones. And you can see it's mostly limited by imagination. If you can think of it, chances are you can probably pull it off. The last thing I want to talk about is page groups, and then because I use these a lot. We have a page group inside of our house that my wife and I use constantly. And so we're going to create a new page group, and basically what a page extension is, or a page group is a number that when dialed, all of the phones in the group pick up and turn into a speakerphone. And so, for example, I dial our page group, or I hit our page button that's pre-programmed into the phone, and I say, would you like to go out for dinner, or what time are we eating dinner? My wife will page me and say, can you bring this upstairs, or whatever it is. We're going to call this the main page group. But these are super useful, and we're just going to drag the extensions that are going to be in the page group into there. Now you have the option for duplex, and what duplex does is it allows every phone that's in the page group to simultaneously be both a microphone and a speakerphone. Now that's fine if you have 1 or 2 or 3 people in the group, but when you get much more than that, the noise gets to be ridiculous. So I would suggest not having that checked. We're going to make it the default page group, and we're going to hit submit. And now we can page other phones by using the page. Wake-up calls are also a very useful application. I actually use this as my alarm clock. So basically I can say that my extension is 701, and at 5:30 in the morning on January 15th, I would like to schedule a wake-up call. And basically, my phone is going to ring then at 5:30, and that can be a super, super useful way to basically to have an alarm. And I've actually even scheduled this on my on a ring group, and my cell phone and the phone in the bedroom and the my emergency work phone are all scheduled through this wake up call. And so if one phone dies, or if something happens, I have backups upon backups. Even when I'm traveling, my alarm will still go off because it will call my cell phone, and that I found that to be super useful. I hope that gives you an idea of some of the things that you can do with free PBX. I've only scratched the surface, seriously. You're really only limited by your imagination. Now, if you got a copy of Asterix Now and you've played with it and it works really well for you, I'd suggest eventually moving to an actual desk phone. So this is a Mitel 5300 series. Fantastic phone, works really well. I also use the Cisco Spa series, and I'm told, even though I haven't tried it myself, that the old Cisco 7900 series, for just a couple of bucks, like $20-$30, you can pick them up on eBay and have a really solid desk phone that works with your SIP system. And it's actually pretty easy to flash firmware onto them. So that's what I'd recommend. Take a look, get started. But I got to tell you, if you own a small business, or if you have small kids, it's really entertaining for my kids to call back and forth, and for them to call me. And if you have a house where you have a lot of space and you're separated for a little bit, it's a really geeky way. To solve a problem that didn't really exist to begin with, and have a really first world living. So check out Asterix Now, go over to their website, download the ISO, throw it on some optical media and install it. It's a good time.
Wow, that's pretty cool, Noah. Thank you. That is super neat. So now you set up for the show a phone number for us to call, for people to call us, which is pretty exciting. And so I've never had like a 1-800 number people could call before. How long is this thing good for? Like, how long is this going to work? And is there a way to route it to my phone so that way when I'm at scale, people could call me?
Did you not watch this?
I did. I was just giving you a chance.
Yes,
I was giving you. That was my cue to recap. And then
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can set up Follow Me, and I can set it up so that not only does it send it to your cell phone, so you'll take it as an actual telephone call, but you can actually set it up so that when you dial out, it would appear to the caller as if you're calling from your 1-800 number. So
that's awesome.
That's what shows up on their.
So
call
I put the phone number in the chat room right now. Although I don't see anybody calling us. But they could call us right now. They could call us, but nobody. I want to try it. Nobody's calling though, Noah.
Confirm nobody's calling.
One of the things too that I thought this would be really useful for is just to be able to have it'd be nice to be able to have an extension down here and just have can you use it for paging too? Like, hey, Rikai!
That's the paging group. Yeah. There are phones. There's one for you, one for Rikai, one for Angela, and they're in a box and they're sitting in the shop and it has Chris written on it. And I was actually going to give them to you when you were in Grand Forks because I keep forgetting to ship them. And then I forgot to give them to you.
what would be amazing is in the Rover. Have one in the Rover too. Yeah. So I call, what's up? Yeah. Well, all right. So nobody wants to call into the show. Nobody wants to call in and wish us a happy 400th. There's lots of people watching right now. Look at, you know what? We're geeks.
It's toll free, guys.
It's understandable. They're geeks. It's tough. I'll give it out though. Oh, hold on.
We got a first one.
Holy smokes! Now they're all calling at once. Now we got 2 calls coming in at once. I'll take the first one that came in. Hey there. Welcome to Linux Action Show. Who are we talking to?
Hey, Chris, how you doing? This is System T.
Hey, man. Thank you for calling in. Where are you calling from?
I am from East Coast. I'm about less than 100 miles from Mr. Dominic.
Oh, now I don't suppose I'm going to be able to have a chance to meet you in person this year, like on any events that are going to be on our side of the states. You staying on the East Coast, or you maybe coming out to Scale or Linux Fest Northwest this year?
Not going to make it out there this year.
All right.
Democratic conventions in Philly, though.
Are you going to that?
Over out this way.
I don't know if the Democratic convention is going to be what gets me to take the Rover somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, man. Well, thank you for calling. I'm going to try to see what happens when I answer another call. Now, hello, other caller. You're on the line too. Hello there.
Hello.
Hi there. Now, what's your name?
Blixa.
Wow, no, that's complicated. I can't even say that again. Where are you calling from?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Hey, nice, very good. So, how long have you been watching the Linux Action Show?
I started just a few weeks ago, actually.
Whoa, well, welcome, newbie. So not only did you start a few weeks ago, but you just called in on our 400th episode. Did you know we're coming up on our 10th year?
Yep.
Well, we're going to have a big party, so that's going to be something to tune in for. All right, I'm going to let you go because we got somebody else coming. I don't know what happens next. Hello, you're on the Linux Action Show. Who are we talking to? Caller, you got to turn your radio off. That's a rookie mistake. That's a rookie. Yeah. Hello. No, see, he's on delay. All right. Well, I'm gonna hang up on you, caller. I'm gonna hang up on you. The next caller is the NSA, says Lanrad. All right, I hung up on him. Well, that was fun. That was an adrenaline rush. The line's still open if anybody else. Whoa.
There you go.
Well, okay. All right. Hello, you're calling the Linux Action Show. Who are we talking to?
Oh, hey, this is Files Copying.
Hey, Mr. Files Copying. Mr. Files Copying is the gentleman who sent me the canoe, which we still don't know if that's how you pronounce it. But Mr. Files Copying, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Just waiting for you to make a trip out here to New York.
You know, I think New York is going to be on the list eventually. I think I should go out there. How long have Mr. Files Copying, how long have you been watching the Linux Action Show?
I think like just a little under a year.
And within a year you decided to send me a canoe?
Yeah, no. I saw something awesome. I was like, oh, Chris needs to review this. I want him to take a look at it.
Did you end up watching that episode of Linux Unplugged where we talked about it?
Oh, yeah, that was
You
amazing.
must have been laughing the whole time. All right, Files Copy, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to answer the next call, but thanks. It was good talking to you for episode 400. All right, welcome to Linux Action Show. Who are we talking to?
Hi, this is Roland.
Hello, sir. Welcome.
In the chat room.
How are you doing? And how long have you been watching Linux Action Show?
About 4 years now.
Ooh, we got a long timer. We got a long. Well, so then you know I don't have to ask you all the standard questions. Well, okay. Thank you for calling in.
I've got another guy on hold too for you after you get through this.
Hello. This is the Linux Action Show. Who are we talking to?
Party.
Hey, hello, Party. Welcome to the show. Welcome to episode 400. How long have you been listening to the show?
Ever since Van Damme was doing his Splits Across America tour.
Whoa, good. Oh, man, that was fun, wasn't it? Are you letting... Okay, all right, I got... Hey, well, anything you want to say before I let you go? You got a couple of seconds.
Well, I would like to see you over when you come out by Scale this time.
Oh, you're going to be at Scale? All right, what's your... tweet me or something. We'll have to meet up. Oh, okay, now you got time because I didn't answer the call in time. So, all right, what's your name? And maybe I can run into you at Scale. Tell me your name.
Oh, like my actual, real name?
Yeah, well, or whatever you're going to tell me in person when I see you, whatever you want to go by.
Oh, it would go by LV.
Okay, all right, that's
I've got another guy on hold for you too.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll send that off to you guys.
Yeah,
don't worry
do
about
that.
it.
And are you going to be at the meetup? Come to the meetup, okay? All right, thanks for calling in. All right, welcome to Linux Action Show. Who are we talking to?
This is our first caller on hold.
This is Sweet Lou. Who am I talking to, Chris or Noah?
Both of us. You're talking to both of us. Hey, Sweet Lou. Putting a voice to the neck. It's good to see you. Howdy, how you doing?
Pretty good. I'm just so happy for you guys to reach your 400th episode. I'm pretty starstruck to be talking to you. After that debacle on Linux Unplugged there quite a while back.
Where I got mad at you, right? Did you get in trouble or something? Because I have a short.
Yeah,
I
I got in trouble for side talking during the main show, and Rotten Corpse tossed me out. So.
Well, look how far you've bounced, and now you're like always in the chat room saying hi to me. So that's there's something to that. All right, well, Mr. Lou, it's nice talking to you. Anything you want to pass along?
Nice talking to you guys too.
Well, thank you for calling in, and keep on rocking in the chat room, okay?
Alrighty.
All right.
I see people booing Rotten Corpse already in the chat room.
Whoa, no, hey, you know what? It's a hard job.
He's doing his job.
It's a hard job. All right, Mr. Sweet Lou, thank you. We'll talk to you later. All right, welcome to Linux Action Show. Who are we talking to?
Ham Radio.
Hey, Mr. Ham Radio. How you doing, buddy? How you doing?
You didn't have to wait
I'm
for
doing
them.
great. How are you guys doing?
Well, pretty good. So here's while we got Ham on the line, a little behind the scenes, little info about Scale coming up. See, I'm traveling and I'm coming back right at the time that Alan is leaving for some BSD thing. So Ham Radio is putting together a best of feedback of TechSnap, like some of our greatest questions, and he's putting it all together. So shout out to Mr. Ham Radio. Thanks, Ham.
Hey, you're welcome, guys. Happy to do it. And I've been watching Last for, over 4 years now. Loved it all.
You are the man. I'm going to let you go, but thank you, sir. Hello. Welcome to Linux Action Show. Who are we talking to?
Rodrigo.
Hello, Rodrigo.
Show International.
Hey, so where are you calling from?
From Argentina.
You sound good, too. It sounds like a local call. So how long have you been watching?
I've been watching for about 4 years.
Ooh, not bad.
Actually, you guys are the ones that switched me to Linux originally.
Hey, that's cool to hear. That's really cool. We're going to have to do
thanks to you guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks to you guys, there's a university here that runs Linux.
Tell me about that. Everybody's calling in.
I actually work at the IT center in the university called UTN, and
Well, lots of the implementations that are there are now in Linux thanks to the fact that I know Linux.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what's your way of consuming the show? What's your preferred way to watch or listen, or in the car, at home? What's your last routine?
Well, I usually just watch the show when I get home, the reruns. Every now and then I log into the live show, but I work so much because
So you just catch it on the stream playback.
The work that I have, it's just like
cool.
So lack of time,
It sounds like what you're telling me is, if you had a little time, you could send us a Wicked Runs Linux with a little video, because I think that would be a pretty sweet Runs Linux for a future episode from the university there.
It's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. We have a lot of Runs Linux in our university.
That'd be really
I'll
cool.
look into it.
That'd be cool. I mean, if you got the time, I'd love to see it. The personal touch. All right, man. Well, thank you for calling in.
I've got another guy on hold for you.
All right,
Have a good day, man.
I will take it now. All right. Hello there. Welcome to Linux Action Show. Who are we talking to?
That is Northern California.
Hello, Northern California. Where are you? Well, I already know now. Wow, that's good. Nice. Okay, let me ask you the next standard question. How long have you been listening to the big show?
Since number one.
No.
Brian.
No way. No way. No way. No, now
Been here
do
the
you
whole
mean
time.
No, do you mean you went back and listened to number one, or do you mean you somehow, by the fate of the internet, actually caught episode 1?
Yeah, by the fate of the internet, I've been dragging along the whole time, man. It's been a good ride.
Whoa! That is wow. This is the last call. This is the last call right here. You cannot top this call. That is amazing. Well, wow. Am I ever gonna get the chance to meet you in person?
Yeah, we'll be down at Scale. I'll look you up. Look for LJ.
Oh, LJ. All right, I'm going to write that down right now. I said that was the last call. Well, LJ, thank you for calling into the show. It's great to get a chance to talk to you. That's sort of the perfect call.
Good. We'll
perfect call for episode 400. All right, man. See you down at Scale, and have a great weekend. Well, that was a lot of fun. All right, I'm going to log out right now. We can take more calls after the show if we want, if everybody wants to. But that was really neat, and that sounded really good, Noah. And so what were you doing from over there, and how were you doing it?
I was setting up a call queue, so as calls were coming in, I was taking them on my cell phone and then holding them for it until you were done, then sending them off to you as you'd wrap one
You
up.
could do that from your phone.
Yeah.
That was pretty sweet. No, that was pretty sweet. All right. Well, so there's the Linux Action Shows. That's how you take a look on the Linux Action Show at Asterisk. But it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of different ways you could set it up. Noah's going to put some resources in the show notes. And, of course, you're going to be at Scale. You could just ask Noah in person because he's all about SIT. And see, I knew that'd be a lot of fun. I've always wanted to try that. So thank you, Noah. That was a great way to celebrate episode 400. And that's our look at Asterisk. Now that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast, although we do have a few more things to cover before we get out of here. And first, I got to thank our segment sponsor, and that's the great folks over at System76, creators of machines designed to run Linux. This is why they're on the Linux Action Show, because these are systems that if you buy these, either for yourself or a family member, it's going to be the Linux experience you expect. It's going to work well. It's going to upgrade well. It's going to go through a reinstallation well, and all of the things on the device that you would expect to work, like the webcam and the hardware buttons and all of that stuff, they just work. And System76 is building some amazing systems like the Oryx Pro, which I've had the fortune of having my hands on one of the late model prototypes. They got the new Lemur, and oh man, do they have some fantastic desktops. Their systems are built right here in the US of A, serviced right here in the US of A. The Ratel Pro, it's shorter than you think. This thing is, they have it here on a bookshelf, and they have it next to some books and next to a globe because they're trying to give you some perspective. It's impressively small, yet it can fit a full-size graphics card in it. It comes with embedded graphics too, so you can start at a value price and then upgrade it to some really nice graphics. You kind of, now that I've said something, you kind of get the perspective of how short it is right there. But it's basically the length of a full-size graphics card and no longer, which means it fits in some really nice places. And if you
and I both were talking about that when we were at System 76.
Yeah. And you really know, like, the thing is that I really like about it is because it has the PCI Express expansion slots and it fits full-size drives, you could put some really fast disks in there, use the Intel graphics that it ships with, then have a flawless Linux desktop, and then when you're ready for gaming or ready to upgrade the graphics, you just pop in the PCI Express card, good to go. Really nice desktop, really great laptops, System76.com. I've been a customer since they have been a company, and I've been buying hardware since that day. It is the only company I recommend to people that are jumping into Linux and want to have a trouble-free experience. It's just I've tried everybody else, and I always recommend System76. So go to System76.com, and thanks to System76 for making great machines. And tell them the Linux Action Show sent you when you get one. That way they know we sent you. Okay, Noah, so we're going to do a little scale update, but first let's get to some emails. You want to take, am I taking the first one or are you taking the first one?
You go ahead and take the first one.
All right, sir. It came in from HeyHacks. He says, I got an open source project for you. Hey, guys, I love your show, and I'm glad you got back to the video version of it. Here you are, this very interesting project. Although I'm not sure if you've covered it before, you could check it out. It's ipfs.io. And I haven't checked it out, I don't think. I'll go there right now. Have you checked it out, Noah?
I haven't. This is the first I've heard of it, but it looks super interesting, and who knows?
Yeah, so IPFS, which is a distributed permanent web something. I don't know what it is, but it's an. Oh, here we go. Whoa! Oh, okay. All right. Oh, check this out. The Interplanetary File System, IPFS, a new hypermedia distribution protocol addressed by content and identities. IPFS enables the creation of completely distributed applications. It aims to make the web faster, safer, and more open. Whoa, I like the name, Interplanetary Networks. That is fascinating. And it's got a link to a YouTube or something video right there if you guys want to check it out. That sounds big. No, it sounds big. All right, you want to take the next one?
So James B writes in and he says, tell the nut, Chris.
That's me.
There's no way that Linux should have auto file sharing. This is like saying that you should run as root is the best thing to do. If love dumb things like that, then run Windows. If love dumb things like that, then run Windows. It on my why I moved off Windows years back. If I can move to a file system that I can get in and kill it,
okay,
and get all your files,
okay,
and yeah, do you get the gist?
Get it out of here.
I think what James B is saying is that I am a nut, and he said it in all uppercase, so he's shouting it. And there's no way that Linux should have auto file sharing. Now, if I am reading what James B here wrote correctly, is in my wish list last week on the big show, I wished for beautiful integration of SyncThing right into the Nautilus file manager or files on the GNOME desktop.
Mm-hmm. That is what you said.
That is what I would like. I would just like it to be built in, and if you check a few boxes, it's turned on. Now, James thinks I'm a nut for auto file sharing, but I don't think James is actually familiar with the way SyncThing works. SyncThing requires that you share these big keys, these big, long strings, and you have to have one, and I have to have one, and we have to agree on that. And there's no way, like, it's not like you can drive by sync with me. You can't just plap your laptop on my Wi-Fi LAN and all of a sudden be syncing all my files. Or not, it's not Windows or Mac OS we're talking about. It's SyncThing. It's a brilliant open source project that's come a very long way in the last year. I've gone from a hater to a lover in a year. I am now using SyncThing to move files between the studio and my rig upstairs and my rig at the Rover. It's moving around my current password solution right now. SyncThing is great, and it is not a drive-by file sharing system that automatically shares all your files. It is a really great open source project that already exists today that could be easily integrated into the Linux desktop. And if you just took a few steps to share the few secrets or whatever that process would be, it would be a very secure way to share files. And I don't think in my wish list I said I wanted it on by default either. It'd be something that would be available. You go in there, you turn it on. It's in the hamburger menu where you stuff everything else because that's good UI. Bob's your uncle, you're sharing files.
So I'm just going to go ahead and throw this in here because you can't just go and delete every file in the computer or modify, system files based on anything that Chris said. It's very different from running root. Like, very, very
I guess that's true too. Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. That's
so,
true.
There's that.
All right. Alex K writes in, and this is a great one to touch on. Out of the box Kodi. Disclaimer, a friend of mine is the lead on this project, but he's linking us to osmc.tv. It's a hardware box called the Vero 2, which could meet your requirements. And you know what, Noah? We got a lot of people on the subreddit, too, that were talking about devices that are shipping with Kodi out of the box. Good to go.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, OpenELEC
I've
came
seen
up.
a ton of them. I just haven't found one that I thought was this actually. I'm looking, built by the people, that kind of thing. It actually looks a lot better than they had in the past. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll have to order one and take a look, huh?
That would be an interesting review, actually. That would actually be kind of an interesting review.
It sure looks better physically. It looks better put together than some of the other ones I've looked at.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Scale. So the conversation is happening over at linuxactionshow.reddit.com. We have a link to that thread in the show notes. The meetup is being organized at meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. Big disclaimer, we've moved it from a breakfast to a lunch. After I set that up, Cory Doctorow, he's like looking at the meetup page. He's like, hey, you know what? That would be a good time to do my keynote. I'm going to do my keynote during the Linux Action Show Power Brunch. So who are we to argue with Cory Doctorow? We have moved the time to a lunch. But here's what's genius about this. Plus, it gives Noah more time to get in. But here's what's genius about this. I'm told there's no food at the convention center. So everybody's got to leave to go to lunch anyways. So Linux Action Show Army, you go in there and recruit people to join us at the meetup. Go in there, hey, we're going to go to a meetup and hang out at the Linux Action Show. Would you like to come with us? So we've moved locations to the Yard House. It supposedly can handle a lot of people. We've already got 27 people saying they're going to go. We've already got 27 people saying they're going to go. We'd love to see you there, meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. Kind of excited about that. So it's going to be at 12:15 p.m. Friday, January 22nd at the Yard House. And if that changes, you'll find out at meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. It's changed like 3 times. So it could happen. Tune in next week to episode 401. We're going to kind of have sort of a special episode. You're going to see some of our planning session for Scale, some of the behind-the-scenes gear and information and software we're using to pull it all off, some of the hang-ups that we still have unresolved, all of that. And if you're going to be at Scale, you can use our promo code LAST40 to get 40% off Scale. We don't get a kickback. It just gives you 40% off. So, all right, Noah, guess what?
That's the end of this week's broadcast.
That brings us to the end of episode 400 of the Linux Action Show. Thanks so much for tuning in this week's episode, and we'll see you right back here next week. Oh, you're adorable. Can I just come over there and give you kisses? Wait, it's too cold. Never mind. You know what? Seriously, you and the whole family should just move your asses over here. It's like, hold on. Let's see. Hold on a second. Hey Siri.
Don't do it.
What's the weather like outside?
He's going to do it.
Today, the temperature will range between 39 degrees and 43 degrees. Well, it looks like a pretty mixed bag tomorrow through January 24th, 2016.
With a low of
50 degrees and a low of 37 degrees.
Oh, it doesn't even get below freezing. Doesn't even.
low of 37 degrees.
I'm just saying, you probably
Here's the thing, man. Is like I said, any other time of the year, like probably the week after I get back from Scale, I'll probably be fine. But like right now, I'm just dying. It just this 30. When we get down to the 30s and 40s,
it's inhuman.
Yeah, it's just so bad. Like I can't.
It's literally a testament to your survival ability.
Well, it's funny because I have to motivate myself. Like it's not just enough to be like, oh, I have to go do last. Now I have to go do last, and I have to find something else to do to motivate myself to go out in the cold to get here. Otherwise, I would just never show up. I'd be like, sorry, cold, I couldn't make it.
Oh man, I don't even know how you survive in that. That is crazy. That is rough. Yeah, on Thursday I have an old Arch droplet, and on Thursday I rebooted it after having done an update like 3 months ago, and it renamed my network interface, so the damn thing just totally dropped off the internet. And I had to fix it during TechSnap.
Which machine was this? Your laptop?
No, it was a droplet.
Oh. What? Oh, weird.
You know, because I have an Arch droplet from like way back in the day when they had Arch droplets.
You think that DigitalOcean would have a deal that, you know.
Well, they don't update the kernel, but they don't have any control over Arch renaming the network interface names, you know?
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. So I rebooted because my Quasar core crashed, and I'm like, well, I should probably just restart this thing anyways. It's been like a year. And so I restarted it, and it like totally just disappeared from the network. So let me tell you something. That HTML5 console, handy. I had to do, so of course, like my Bonobo right here for TechSnap is displaying like all of the news stories that Alan's talking about and stuff. So I'm on the other machine over here in Chrome. I'm on the HTML5 console, and I'm in there like fixing the network name interface. It's all due.
And meanwhile, you're trying not to let Alan know what's going on, because if he knew, he'd tell you how that wouldn't happen in BSD.
No, he already did. I mentioned it because I was frustrated. You know how I rant. So I had to let off a little steam. What? Yeah, just a little steam, and so he was giving me a hard time. You know. So then I had to have it fixed before the show was over, so I could prove to him it wasn't a big deal. All right, we're gonna try to stop saying "here's the thing." If you guys could all right, just what we need is here's my promise to you. If somebody out there makes a hypercut of all the times we say "here's the thing" in the last few episodes, and it's excessive, we'll stop doing it. That's my promise.
Yeah, but here's the thing. That's your promise, not my promise.